All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending. My name is Seewing Yee from the Yee Real Estate Network. And my special guest, once again, is Mr. Richard.advani, an investment loan agent. We could talk about a topic that has been I've been approaching for from time to time. And although I do not specialize in this investment space, but it's worthy to talk about it. And I'm talking about the short-term rental. Short-term rental, I know, an Airbnb kind of concept, everybody have done a lot of traveling over the years, and a lot of us enjoy Airbnb. So when an investor mentioned to me about short-term rental, it's such a generic, broad topic, right? Just so much aspects goes into it. So quickly, Richard, I know you have done some short-term rentals, even on your personal portfolio, but you don't have to go through your personal portfolio, but with other investors have done short-term rentals. So what, from a high level, a quick comment, what are the pros and cons of short-term rentals? In my belief, it's not as easy as you think, just because it sounds good, it's very enticing. You would think a lot of people are doing it. Yes, it's true, but there's a lot of things that we don't know about. So in your perspective, what is the pros and cons of buying a short-term rental property?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, I've done obviously a lot of short-term rental loans for clients. I have 2 short-term rentals myself in California. I've had one of them for probably 6 or 7 years now. If you're strategic in your location and the Airbnb is working, honestly, there's not tons of cons, right? But that's with any investment, right? Once you find the right one, there's not going to be many cons. But in general, obviously, when you're looking at an Airbnb versus a long-term rental, Airbnbs, at least that first year, you got to kind of figure out what your occupancy rate is going to be, what kind of fall through you have, and what kind of income it's going to generate. And that can be a little more subjective versus, say, a long-term rental where you know what the rent is for the year, you know what the expenses are, and so forth. However, that being said, on average, from what I've seen on my own portfolio, as well as clients that have short-term rentals, is, typically gross wise, you're going to bring in about 2.5 times the gross monthly amount or yearly amount that you would have brought in with the long-term rent. So that 2.5 times I found to be pretty accurate, depending on where in the country you're looking. Well, actually, regardless of where in the country you're looking, it seems to hold pretty steady. Now, one thing to keep in mind, though, is when you're investing out of state with short-term rentals, a lot of the short-term rental management companies do charge a good amount, 20 to 30%. Whereas obviously in a long-term rental, you're paying closer to 8 to 10% of the collected rent. So that is something to factor in, is, when you're doing your analysis, factor in obviously the cost of the short-term rental and what you're going to make net. At the end of the day, I would not buy a short-term rental with similar returns as a long-term rental, right? What's the point then? Is it buying, instead of buying a $200,000 property, now you're buying a $900,000 property, but for the same rate of return? For me, a short-term rental does have inherently, some more risk than a long-term rental, right? Just because, there's seasonality, and then there's also, global events outside of our control, pandemics and stuff like that. So, for me, I think it's very important to, when you're analyzing them, make sure there is enough benefit over, let's say, a long-term rental. And most of the time there will be. However, when you run into, of course, the short-term management companies eating up a lot of that short-term profit, that can cut into your bottom line. But they really are a great wealth building tool, and more importantly, a great cash flow building tool. If you're close to retirement and you're trying to start investing in real estate now, and real estate's not going to make you rich overnight. And it is a long-term play to really start enjoying the fruits of real estate, right? The longer you hold it, the better play against inflation it is, the more the property would have appreciated, the higher rents would have gone up, all while your mortgage payment staying the same. Whereas, with short-term rentals, that strategy is going to be a little different, right? It can be quicker cash flow. It can mean income replacement in the shorter term. However, I think another mistake a lot of people make is buying in properties that are saturated with other Airbnbs. One of the things that I think has led to me being very successful with my Airbnbs is there's not tons of other Airbnbs around, right? Now, I know traditionally you think, okay, if I want to buy a short-term rental, where am I going to look? Let me look in a beach area. Let me look in a mountain area. And those things aren't wrong. However, do know that you're going to have a lot of competition, right, in those areas. And, in general in life, I've realized that forget competition. We don't want competition. If you want to thrive, finding areas where you don't have as much competition, any type of business is going to make your business do better. So, look at areas, for example, that have a high population density, but not a lot of hotels, right? It doesn't need to be a destination area. It could be a neighborhood, right? It could be a neighborhood or an area where, there's a couple 100,000 residents, where there's 2 hotels. That may be a great place for an Airbnb, because when people are coming to visit those 300,000 residents, a lot of times they don't want to stay in a hotel, or hotels may be more expensive when you're traveling with a family of 3 to 5 people. So I think Airbnbs are really the future of travel. And I think there's a great market in it, but, that doesn't mean any Airbnb you go and buy is going to be a slam dunk. You need to do your diligence, you need to do your research. And, you need to obviously make sure that after paying cleaning fees and management companies, there still is going to be enough profit margin over and above a long-term rental.
Well said, Richard. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. You add so much value, and great short discussion on short-term rentals, pros and cons. Thank you so much. With that in mind, thank you for your time. Thank you everyone for listening. This is Seewing Yee from Yee Real Estate Network and Richard.advani from Supreme Lending. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Goodbye.